Well, welcome everyone to our fourth in this series of palindromes on the 22nd of every month. And I'd like to introduce our guests that are coming along today that have answered the call. And of course, I've got the lovely Vicky here who will be doing the channeling while I do the interviewing. And
Hi, everyone.
today we have, as usual, our keepers of the keys, which are like our guides throughout all of these processes and all these channelings that we do. So we'll be talking once again to the keepers. And also today we've got two other guests, Aria, which is Vicky's Divine Collective, and Archangel Raphael. So very exciting. I've even worn my green in honor of Archangel Raphael coming through. So I'd like to welcome you all, and I imagine the keepers are not far away.
No, they're not far away. I've got my piece of emerald right here and pressure light in this necklace. So I'm also looking forward to this because it's interesting. I haven't channeled Archangel Raphael before. Even though I work closely with him in the energy sessions that I do, and have worked with him, familiar with his energy for the past 18 years. So really super excited to do that with him. And Aria, I have channeled through written words in what I used to do, messages from the divine. And but I haven't publicly channeled them, of course, in this way, even though they've worked with me for years, again through healing sessions. So again, I'm looking forward to that as well. And of course, the keepers are like our friends who anchor the energy of the sessions too. Okay, so I'll bring the keepers in because they're coming in first, and then Aria, and then Archangel Raphael. We are ready, dear ones, and we are certainly looking forward to this session and every communication and sharing that we have with you all.
Wonderful. It's lovely to be speaking with you and stepping into this energy again, and I really look forward to these monthly visits.
Yes, so do we.
Yeah, even though I know that you're always around, it's just nice to have this face-to-face and words to words, heart to heart with you.
Let us also agree with you and say that while we are always sharing every day, there is a message from us every week, every month. These opportunities to share more directly, we too welcome, for there is an interaction. You are speaking back with us and asking those questions. And after this, we would invite you to open the questions up to your audience and see if they have questions for us or any of your guests, your divine guests. But in this way, we agree with you. It is a more direct sharing because it is in real time. So we appreciate these opportunities.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So a bit of a fun one is about the Egyptian, I'll say Egyptian, Ankh.
Yes.
It is typically known as either the key to life or a symbol of life. Some refer to it as a hand mirror, which I think is really about a reflection back of your life. But for me, when I first had my awakening and I went on a journey to my Hall of Records, I got to my beautiful castle, and on the front door of my Hall of Records was the Ankh, and I didn't know what it was.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, that's a nice symbol, and it stayed with me.
Yes.
Of course, once I got back, I looked it up and went, oh, Kerry, that's the Ankh. Haven't you seen that before? And that sort of thing. But for me, the question I really wanted to ask was about what's its real meaning. Like, I know it's been heavily used and connected with Egyptian life.
Yes.
But for some reason, I have a feeling it's come in from other planets or other lifetimes, that it's not just the symbol that appeared in Egyptian times. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us a bit more about the Ankh and possibly how we could use it in our lives.
Yes. Now, it is known as the key of life, as you are aware and as you have stated. And Vicky had a similar experience, that after our first channeling with her, introducing ourselves to her, when she went into meditation afterwards, she was presented with the Ankh. And the Ankh was given to her, and the loop was placed around her head and the cross part over her heart. And it melded into her body. And she was saying that the meaning was, this was saying to her that she now has the key. Now, the key is to the records.
It's on my door. Interesting.
Yes, yes. The key is to the records. And so if you can understand, like here you have the book of life, the key of life, the key to the records, the key to the book, the key to the libraries.
Yeah.
We are the keepers of the keys. We hold the keys. Now, it is not to say we are the only holders or the only keepers. Each person who has access will be a keeper of the keys. Now, this is a name, a term that we have, in a way you could think of as designating to ourselves. It is just an ease of reference. So it is a collective name for us as a group. We are not here to single ourselves individually in any way, shape, or form through this forum, these discussions. It is designating a role that we have, one role, and in that way, that role is how we share and connect with Vicky. Now, we said to her in the very first channeling, we are the guides, your guides in the libraries of light. And we hold the keys to these libraries. And so that is what the Ankh represents. And the looping you can think of as a return from spirit, and then the connecting, the anchoring into the heart, into the physical. For the heart is the grounding point from spirit into the physical. It is the first opening from your bodies into the divine.
Yeah.
The lower chakras do not have that opening into the divine. The heart is that gateway.
Yeah.
And so it anchors that. So if you can understand, let's go to Egypt now. There was the fall of Atlantis. The peoples and the tribes of Atlantis dispersed.
Yeah.
Different wisdom teachings were taken to different parts of the world. Now, Egypt was one of those civilizations that received from one of the tribes of Atlantis these teachings. And their gift was their connection to the stars, to the cosmos, to the divine. Now, you may see that they held particular, as we said, wisdom codes, teachings, that it was their covenant to keep sacred. Now, the pyramids are more than a place of rest for kings or for the pharaohs. They anchor energy and they connect to the cosmos. The Sphinx is more than a monument to a pharaoh again, and holds energies of the records within it also. So here they are, energetic gateways into the cosmos and into the libraries of light. And so the Ankh represented for them those who had the key to the library.
Yeah, okay.
So it is not held by any common person, what they saw as a common person. That is not our term, let us be clear. But they were high priests, high priestesses, and the pharaohs and the queens. So those who had a lineage through their teachings to access the libraries.
Mm. So it has, well, if it's come via Atlantis, it's definitely a symbol that's come down through our planetary connections as well.
Let us say this. We do not wish to say, and Vicky's looking over here at the card that she has on her desk, that stays on her desk, and we would like to share. The Sphinx with a key.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we do not wish to say that because there was a descendants from Atlantis, that everything that they taught or held or did was pure.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
In every culture and delineation from the tribes, there was over time a corruption of what was
like Chinese whispers. Yeah.
Yes. And what you saw is a breaking apart of 12 pieces of wisdoms. And when each culture or lineage or tribe, original tribe, held one piece. Now, when you hold only one piece instead of the whole of the 12, there is going to be necessarily a distortion within that. But it was the only way at that time for your earth to hold some of these wisdom teachings so that they can be preserved for humanity. Yeah. Now, what we will say, still much was lost. The whole was lost. Mm-hmm. What is occurring now as you're moving through your ascension process and moving into the consciousness of light and the consciousness of love, you are, all of you, those who are moving through this ascension process, awakening more and more into what was not lost within the libraries. Nothing is truly lost. It may have been lost on a human level, but not lost on a divine one. And so each of you will come more and more into it. And let us also say, because again, Atlantis was not pure, otherwise he would not have fallen. There was the golden age where all was love. But then it descended into the darkness that caused the cataclysm, or those that held the darkness overwhelmed those that held the light. And so what you are now doing is awakening more into that light. And now you're reimagining a new world, a new earth, holding new frequencies. So what will come through at this time will not just be a return to Atlantis, but a new golden age that will have its own wisdoms.
Yeah.
And this process will take thousands of years. It will take these next 2,600 years of the Aquarius age.
Okay.
You are moving into the Aquarius age and you have been into the transition of it. And let us say, though, that's 2,600 years for the whole planet to get to the peak. It is not to say that there won't be individuals who won't hold those frequencies and won't be the forerunners of that energy.
Yeah, yeah. And as we build up to it as well. Yeah.
And that is what you're preparing for. Yeah. So you have 2,600 years to get it right.
Just a couple of lifetimes.
Just a few. Yes. Now, do not feel, we say this not to despair those who are hoping that you're going to blink into the golden age tomorrow or next year or even the year after that, because individually you may. We are saying this to ease the pressure of feeling that you must get there.
Like now.
Yes. Now, it is not to say that there isn't much that needs to occur, but you're still fighting wars on a collective level, dear ones. This is not going to go away. In other words, you're not moving into, as a planet, as a collective, into the consciousness of love yet.
Yeah.
But more and more of you are. And that is all the difference in the world. And that is why we are here. We are here to connect with the more and more of you who are.
Yeah.
And through each moment, each expansion, each evolution into the consciousness of love, you help the bringing of it.
And I feel like each little win or each little success we're having is so amazing. Like, it's nice to have it in that bit by bit rather than just one big you Betty, we're there and we're done. So that process of going through these changes and feeling more and more lighter, I've been enjoying. But as an extension of what you've just been saying, like when we look at, and it's actually was my next question, when we look around, we're seeing war, desperation,
yes,
natural disaster. And personally, I'm witnessing a huge amount of desperation across every generation and across every walk of life. Everyone's kind of going through all those stresses and changes that are happening now. But we're in a planet of duality.
Yes.
And while we're witnessing this, and it's being reported on our television, all the negative side, can you talk to the positives that are actually occurring that we may not be, some of us are seeing them, a lot of us are seeing them, but some more of those positives that are going on that are balancing off what we think is only doom and gloom at this point in time?
Yes. Now, firstly, what we will say, you are right, that the vast majority is the individual celebrations of each individual shift. And if there was to be a divine intervention that did it like this, you would not have accomplished it, dear ones. And then the whole purpose of you being here would be null and void. And so we would never do this to you, dear ones. This is for your accomplishment, your achievement, whether you want to see it as a learning or an evolution or a remembering of who you really are. Now, if you think of the earth and this physical realm as a place to learn, some call it a schoolroom, some call it a place of learning. If you think of it, it's a place to where you have an individual soul curriculum and you get to move through this soul curriculum on a physical level. And so here you are having to be in physical bodies and lower, as in slow the vibration of your energy so that you can be in physical bodies. And the whole purpose of this was to move into a remembrance of who you are as love and as divine in physical bodies. And so if we were to take away this purpose, then the whole purpose of this earth would be nullified, and that would be a travesty indeed. Given all that you have gone through, that would be making all those experiences not just a lie, but meaningless.
And we chose to come down and go through this process. Like, it was our choice.
Yes.
And it was our choice to come down here and use all that we have in a creative way.
Yes.
We're creating our day-to-day moments.
You are. And in that sense, let us say, is that you get to be the creator of your reality. Now, this could be a whole topic of discussion.
Mm.
For what does that mean? There is much misunderstanding of what that means, and many think, well, let's go into a creation of all my ego-based desires.
Mm.
And you may do that, dear ones. You have free will choices. That is why you are here. And yet what we are here for is to support you to be the co-creator of heaven on earth. So when you are the co-creator of heaven on earth, when you align the whole of you with your higher self and all these parts of you, you move into a holy moment of now. And in that moment, anything is possible. You tap into your divine blueprint, for it is held by your higher self. And then within your divine blueprint is a whole smorgasbord of choices and of what you may create. Yet there are parameters within that divine blueprint. It's like going to a restaurant, knowing that there's an infinite menu of what this restaurant will create, but you cannot order from another restaurant.
Mm.
So there are parameters. You can choose anything that's on the menu from this restaurant. Now, in your divine blueprint, there are parameters, but you can choose anything that's on the menu from within your divine blueprint.
Nice way to look at it. Yeah.
Yes. So here you are, moving into more and more of you in a physical body. That's why we say celebrate each shift, celebrate each moment where you remember more and more of who you are, because it can be a cognitive process, a thought process, but it may not land in your body. But it needs to begin with the awareness and the cognition and the thoughts. Then it needs to move down through the layers of your being, from the spiritual to the mental, to the emotional, and to the physical. It is why the releasing from the body and shifting and the healing through the body is so crucial to this process. So each celebration is, you may think of as a miracle, shifting from fear into love, fear into love, fear into love. And so we could not possibly present all these celebrations and all these good news to you because it is so vast. What we will say, however, on a collective level, much is occurring on the collective. What you are seeing is the bringing up of all that was held within the depths of the collective of humanity.
Yeah.
And so even what you see as negative or as the bad news is a reflection of all this coming up and out of the consciousness of the collective. You're experiencing war on the planet. What does this do? It brings up an outcry against war. This is where you choose to define yourselves. Are you for war or against war? How do you act in relation to that? All those behaviors or actions that you take are then also definitions of who you are. Each is an opportunity to define yourselves through your actions. So each is a focus point for you. Now, that is one way to look at it. And some of you may not agree, and that is okay, because there are horrors within war, and we agree with you. And we will not go there here because you're wanting the good news. The good news is more and more of you are coming into an understanding of what an abuse of power is. More and more, and we say this not just so you can see it as so obviously in your on a collective level, but you're understanding it on an interpersonal one for each of you.
Yeah.
For how do you heal that within the collective if you do not heal that individually? So each time you interface with a relationship and there is an abuse of power, there is a controlling energy, there's a manipulation, and you do not stand up for that and define and reinforce your divine sovereignty in that moment by declaring that you are love, and by loving therefore yourselves and caring for yourselves and standing up for yourselves, then you're giving your power away. Now, that is just one example. And we say there are more and more examples of this on a personal level in relationships than most of you are looking at in terms of the external in your governments and your structures. Now, of course, these will change, but where have you not changed this in your interpersonal relationships, dear ones? Do not only look to the external, look within. For you must change what is within you before the external can change. And so some have the cart before the horse and are looking for the external structures to change before you're changing the internal ones. But more and more of you are changing, and the birds are celebrating, if you may hear them.
Yeah, I can hear them. Yeah.
For as each individual does this, and the reason why we keep going back to the individual, because we want you to celebrate yourselves and we want you to celebrate each other's successes. For again, this is something that you are, as a collective, not very good at doing. You will look at the other and say, why do they get to have this success? Who are they to be that? Why can I not have that? Now, you can say, yes, that is from ego. Yes, that's true. But it is more and looking externally instead of looking within. So we are guiding you to look within. We are here to help the individual, let's say, rephrase that, guide, here to help the collective through the individuals. From the one becomes the many, and then the many become the one. So we see the shift through the collective energy by individual to individual. And we see that in each of your successes, and we know that even you, dear one, personally are doing exactly this.
Yeah.
And so we are here with you, celebrating with you all the gains that you have made and are still to make and are making in this process, in disentangling yourself from that manipulation and that abuse of power and control.
And as usual, it's I've got other questions that are perfect segues and an extension of this conversation into the next. And that's what I was going to bring up, the fact that I've just had a week finalizing things, shall we say, with a personal relationship.
Yes.
And I still had this connection that I felt I'd let this person down in our relationship. I had gone, we choose our blueprints together when we're coming down. We offer assistance for each other to help us have these experiences. So I knew that. And even though I had felt persecuted and all those things, and I've left that relationship and I'm moving forward, there was something holding me back. And it was the fact that I felt I had succeeded on my side, but he hadn't possibly done what he chose to come and do. And even though I know that's not my choice, that's his choice, I still had this little lingering doubt of I've let him down.
Yes.
And I went and saw while I was out west a powerful healer friend of mine, Sandra at Temple Healing in Lightning Ridge, and went and talked to her. And she went, "Oh, Kerry, it's all okay." She said, even if he doesn't choose to choose the path that he chose, if he doesn't choose to follow the path he created in his blueprint, if nothing else, you've helped him plant a seed of spirituality, which will hopefully then lead him in a future lifetime, or maybe even later in this lifetime. So that was kind of the last thing to just like take the weight off myself. I was doing it to myself. So I just think that was just a valid point to bring up, that even though I knew the persecution was there, I still felt that we chose to do this together. And just that knowledge, that knowing I haven't failed in supporting him in what I came to support him in, even if it is just to plant that seed.
Let us say that it is not uncommon that in this lifetime, people will not get to their spirituality, will not move into their potentials, but will have seeds planted. For if they're going to return to this planet, they will need to move into that next lifetime. And so many of you as light workers have volunteered. Vicky's getting chills to support the consciousness of the planet by doing this. Now, we want to be again very clear. It is not to say that any light worker or any way you may define yourselves now must stay in abusive relationships. Not at all. Not at all. If you have had soul contracts with people and that has meant that you have experienced an abusive dynamic or a toxic dynamic within that relationship, that was part of your soul agreements for many reasons. Some of that for karmic clearing, some of that to give you the opportunity to move through soul lessons that you have been working on for lifetimes, as well as a layer of introducing that seed to the other. Now, you may do this in a short relationship. It does not have to be a long one. And so what we say to everyone who is listening in the eternal moment of now, do not ever see our relationship as having a higher purpose and therefore you must stay in it. For again, that is putting the cart before the horse. You are here to have free will choices. And so part of that is to move into your lesson sooner. You do not have to wait for the other. It is all about you in that sense. If you are to subject yourself to further abuse for the other, that does not benefit the other. It does not benefit anyone. It increases the energy of conflict and abuse around the world. When you are able to end the cycle of abuse by standing up for self, by loving self and knowing that you are not deserving of this treatment and this behavior, then you stand up for everyone. Every person who has ever been persecuted, every person who has ever been abused, every person who has ever been scapegoated, and so on and so forth. And so you are not doing it for yourself. You stand up with a crowd of people who have stood up before you. And so you add to the energy upon the planet where you say no to subjugation and abuse of power. And in that saying no, you're declaring who you are. You're declaring that you're not one who will agree to abuse. You're not one who will agree to anything that is not love. And so you declare yourself open to love and to being love.
Well, I'm feeling that I can't thank him enough for what transpired that led me to stand in my power, because it's the trials that we went through together that actually taught me to stand up for myself.
Yes.
So it's been a real empowerment, a real win for me that I've got to know myself.
Yes.
On a deeper level, and I feel lighter and freer. And funny enough, I keep pulling the Joan of Arc card. You know,
divine warrior.
Yeah. So I'm like, yes, I'm free to speak freely and truly.
It is the path of divine warrior. And when Vicky was going through a similar process, and then she went through a 4-year family court process. And even before she went to family court, and even before she even left the relationship, what needed to occur was a standing up for self in a quiet way. First is the recognition that you do not deserve that treatment and that behavior.
Yeah.
And that may not come up with behavior or standing up for self, but first is the recognition and the awareness. Because what occurs when you experience that from the other is often through all the distortions, all the woundings that have occurred from childhood to within that relationship is, I don't deserve better. They were justified in some way. They were angry, they were upset, they were X, Y, or Z. Never, I still deserve to be treated well, regardless of whether someone is angry or upset or experiencing adverse circumstances. So that is the first process. And we're speaking of this because it is a really valuable time to be speaking of this when you are experiencing war, because this is the reflection in the personal to the collective. And then, so first the recognition, and then the standing up, the voicing. So then the voicing will occur. First, it may not be with authority. It will be with fear. You may voice to another first rather than to that person. And then you may need to prepare to be able to voice to that person. And
Spend
then
hours preparing words. Yes,
we know. And then it will be just in a small way. And then it'll get bigger and then bigger. And Vicky saw that within herself, that each moment that she stood up for herself was a process in setting those boundaries. And it wasn't easy for her to do. It wasn't natural for her to do, because she had not been taught to do this in her own childhood. That was lacking in her own development to be able to see herself as worthy of her own energy. Imagine not seeing yourself as worthy of your own energy, that you must give all your energy away to another so that they may feel better. That is a complete disintegration of self into the other. And that was Vicky's process, in each claiming back a bit more of her energy, a bit more of her energy, a bit more of her energy, so that she can become the person she is now and will become the person that she is becoming. So let us say it is not an easy process, and truly it is a process, one that can take years.
Yeah.
And it is one to navigate, for some actions can endanger you.
Yeah.
Even when you're standing up, you are possibly in the greatest danger at that time.
Yeah, big risks. Yeah.
And so that is why the preparation is essential. For some, the preparation is to go into hiding, is to flee.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to say that in those circumstances, this is not a lack of standing up for self. This is a complete wisdom in knowing that this is the most loving thing that you could do for you and your family.
To have to even think about, have the energy to flee is powerful, like to make that decision and then go about it.
Yes, it is. As we said, anytime you stand in defiance of someone who sees themselves as entitled or an authority or in power and control is a danger moment for you. For how will they respond? The aggressor responds with aggression and violence. And so when you do this, this is where you need to check in with your guidance about what is safe for you, what is best for you, to call on human support, to pray for divine support so that you and your loved ones may be safe. And these are big topics. And they are big topics, but it is necessary given what is occurring externally at the moment. When people are asking, how do we end war? This is how you end war individually. Collectively, what we say is that you have seen the people who have gathered publicly to condemn war. And you have seen the energy that they bring. And they do it for the love of people who are oppressed. And it sends a message and an energy throughout your collective that you are against war and that you are for love. So these are all actions that you may take to help demonstrate who you really are. Are you of love or not?
It's just like that microcosm of the macrocosm too, like by those people getting out there and speaking up against war and a larger group creating a change in the collective energy, that's then washing back to the individual to allow them to see where they can stand up for themselves in their own lives. So it's sort of like everything's connected, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. You feed up and back and down and across and in every which way.
So my next thing was around the word surrender, and it links all back into this about looking for your guidance and praying for assistance and those sorts of things. And I've come across this, and it was from Ilariel's words, who is one of the keepers of the keys. So it's in, I've got the book here, Power of the Magdalene by Stuart Wilson and Joanna Prentice. Joanna Prentice, And it was this mantra. And when I told it to my daughter, she went, there's no way I'm saying that. And I realized that's something I really wanted to discuss with you. So I'll just read the mantra. And it is, I surrender to the spirit. I surrender to the light. I surrender to the spirit. I surrender to the light. I surrender to the spirit. I surrender to the light. I am light. I am light. I am light. Now, that is the word affirmation part of it. And, of course, there's an energy process where we send out energy and that sort of thing. While I was home, I went and checked, or my old home now, we'll call it. I went and checked the spiral, and I walked the spiral, and there's so much I could talk about how that spiral has survived without me there for a year. It's amazing. Yes. The energy is still vibrant. And I walked in the spiral, and I got right to the center, and I did that mantra at the top of my lungs. Yes. And it was so empowering. Yes. Now, when I said it to my daughter, she said, I'm not surrendering my power away to anything. So that's where I want to talk about it, because we're kind of going from a place at the moment, I feel, collectively and possibly individually, from competition to cooperation is kind of the energy that COVID and all these things have brought out for us. Yes. So when I looked up the word surrender, it was like giving way to your enemy. It was all these real negative enemy, giving away your power type meanings. So I wanted to talk to the fact that I surrender to the spirit. We are spirit. And I surrender to the light. We are light. We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
So I feel when I say I surrender to, there goes my throat, to the spirit, it's actually saying I'm stepping into my own and I'm connecting with the all.
Yes.
So would you like to talk to that? Because a lot of people, especially if they're just on the path or maybe not on the path yet or whatever, now here you're saying you want to surrender, like here we are in a human experience wanting to reclaim our personal power. And now this is saying surrender it over. Like that it's a little bit lost for some.
We think this is an important discussion. And we agree with your analysis that it is who you are. And so you're surrendering to the greater you.
Yeah.
It is not a giving up. And this is what people will confuse it. It is not a giving up.
Yeah.
What you are surrendering is trying to control yourself and your external circumstances. You give up, in that sense, the need to control what is occurring outside of you, and even trying to control yourself to fit what others would desire of you. When you surrender to the light, what you are doing is you are aligning yourself with your higher self, the greater part of you. So it is a process of alignment. And this is the difference between free will and higher will. You have free will to act in a way that is not in your best and highest good. You can make all the wrong choices, and we use wrong in as a relative term, and make all the wrong choices. In other words, all the choices that are not in your best and highest good freely. You have that free will choice to be able to do so. If you were instead to surrender to higher will or to the light, to your higher self, then what you're doing is you're aligning with your best and highest good. And this is where all choices from the higher self are in your best and highest good. Not all choices from a human self are in your best and highest good. And so you can come here and let us say you have had the experience, you would know, raising children, where as the parent or as the guardian, as the adult, you say, do not make this choice because it is not going to be safe for you. It's not going to have a good outcome because of the benefit of your experience.
Yeah.
How often do children listen to you? Not very often. Until they do. Now, why do they ultimately? It is because of the benefit of their experience. Mom was right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that did hurt. Oh, yeah, I did have my heart broken. Oh, yeah, I could see that was a wrong choice. Why are you here? For the benefit of your experience. You know all of this from the non-physical. You have come to experience all this in the physical. And so when you are making these so-called wrong choices, ultimately they are right choices because you have learned through the benefit of your experience to make the right ones for you. And so it is coming into a place of wisdom to then move into a place where you can say, I surrender to the light. I have learned enough through making all these wrong choices, all these diversions, the wrong turns. and align myself with what's in my best and highest good. And so we say that is ultimately aligning with your higher power rather than giving your power away.
And I'm also getting the picture of it's like taking us from that thinking,
yes,
mental side of things and bringing in the consciousness of love in and opening
yes,
our heart up.
Yes.
In that surrender to
Yes.
Yeah, and I just saw myself then. I'm seeing myself as in sitting on the floor, and in my arm's reach is all these wonderful tools all around me and wonderful experiences all around me. And if I can surrender and just get in the flow and get out of the mind, that these things that are just in hand's reach can come to me with ease.
That is a perfect description. It's coming through. Now, the attempts to control circumstances and to control yourself is coming from the mind. And it's why the heart is involved in that surrender. And this is where you're surrendering to your higher self, surrendering to your light. If you were to give up and give in to another, that does not involve the heart. And that is a very useful way to delineate between what is one and what is the other. If you were to give in to someone and it's not in your best and highest good, there may often be a sinking feeling.
Yeah.
A feeling of smallness. You in some way feel smaller, you diminish into yourself. There may even be that sinking, as we said, that sinking feeling. Oh, yes, okay, I'll do that. You may even bow your head. That's subjugation. Surrender to the light. It's an opening. Yes.
And actually that position you just showed me, I think a lot of light work, as you see, we've got that hump on the back of our neck for doing a lot of that bowing over all those lifetimes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is when you are so aware of what the other requires that you take into consideration the other, but not yourselves.
Yeah.
And so what we will say is that when you have done this for lifetimes, of course, this then becomes the pattern. Then you are being bowed down by life. You also become bowed down by grief. And that hump is a grief. What is that grief? That is you betraying yourselves.
And loss of your voice. You're crushing that zone down.
Disconnecting from yourselves, disconnecting from your soul, disconnecting from your hearts. All parts of you grieving the loss of you.
And that's one of the things I do teach when I do my workshops, getting people to stand up tall, and they get to do this special walk, and it's all about embracing that and standing tall, and you actually feel a foot taller when we do it. Well, I do.
Yes.
When you look forward instead of looking at the ground, when you look at the ground, you shrink by about a foot, and then you look forward and you get a foot taller and you can walk in your power. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's an opening of the heart.
Yeah, everything's open. Yeah.
There's an opening of the heart. And this is the collapse. Collapse of the heart, collapse of the body, an opening of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I have plenty more questions, but I'm just wondering how we're going energetically wise, whether we would like to welcome in another guest, or
we have time for 2 questions for us. Okay. And then we'll move into your next guest.
Well, since we're on the body, talking about the body, Quite often you'll hear in the spiritual communities they talk about our physical body being a meat suit. And it kind of, to me, was when I first started, I went, oh, yeah, it just carries around our spirit, carries around that sort of thing. But the more work I do, I realize that our body is practically everything. And we're having a 3D experience, and it's our physical body that's actually not just carrying around our spirit, it's our whole operational system. And there's so much more to our body other than what we think of as a meat suit. And nearly every conversation we have, we discuss about the importance of opening the heart and eating lighter foods and water, not just for nutrition and hydration, but for our electrical systems. And also our body is not just the physical that we can see, that we have these other bodies as well. So just wondering if you wanted to talk to that a bit more about how important our bodies are and the reasons, you know, for looking after it is not just for longevity. There's so many other reasons to support and nurture our bodies.
Okay. What a great question. We would prefer you to think of your bodies as temples rather than bodies as meat suits.
Yes.
For one diminishes the body, the other honors the body. So here you are, you must honor the body. You may see your body as a record of all that you have experienced. Your body holds all your memories.
Yeah.
It is integral to who you are. Without this body, you wouldn't be who you are. It holds all your memories within it. So it is why we say when you are healing, you are needing to heal and release cellular somatic memories from within your body of all that wounding, of all that trauma. Now, conversely, it holds all the love within it also. Now, if you have your soul interfacing through your body is the medium through which you receive your messages. Now, without your body, of course, you cannot interface in the physical world. It is not just a meat suit so that you can do this just to carry your soul. That's like saying your body is a bag to carry your wallet and your phone. It is far more than that. Now, when it comes to honoring the body and understanding that the body itself has a consciousness, it is a repository for your soul, certainly. It brings through the energy from the divine, through your energy centers, into your organs, into your cells. And you're like this, dear one. In your very cells are your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
In your multidimensional DNA are your Akashic Records and your divine blueprint. How can you have a spiritual experience without the physical body?
Yeah.
You cannot. It is all held here for you.
Yeah.
It is more than just an avatar. It is a vehicle for you in life. It holds the imprint, the blueprint within you so that you may move forward through life with love. And to diminish the body and dishonor it, then you have lost the meaning of life. You are looking to the stars and to the heavens. You're not integrating the earth and the physical and why you are truly here. You are seeking to expand into the cosmos while missing the opportunities of the earthly realms. You are here to be the bridge of both and to integrate both. And to denigrate one and only look to the other creates the distortion. Just as we said, when you only have one piece and not the whole, there will be necessarily a distortion within that. So there will be a distortion when you only care for the physical and your material comfort, only care for physical desires. And distortion similarly when you only care for spiritual ones and dismiss the physical.
And it's finding that balance. And like I was reading up on some of Mary Magdalene's summaries, and
yes,
she used an analogy of getting some love here.
Nice.
North and south poles and the magnetics, how they're pulling, but at some point there's a space in the middle,
yes,
where they're not pulling or pushing. There's that balance. And I think that's like us too. We've got the integrating the human and the divine, finding that balance point in the middle.
Yes, the balance point being right here where your higher heart is.
Yeah.
For the heart is the integrator. It bridges heaven and earth. It is also the gateway into the cosmos, into the divine. It is the grounding point for the divine. And so for those who disconnect from their bodies to only go into the spiritual and see as the meat suit, are missing these opportunities to connect through the heart. And let us say, even if they're connecting through the heart and then dismissing the energy of the rest, well, there'll be some other imbalances there too. For the lower, what you may call as in lower, as in less important, is actually no, there may be lower as in lower than higher as a relative term. It provides the foundation of who you are.
Yeah.
How can you operate without a foundation? Just like the house without a foundation, what will happen to the walls and the ceiling?
Yeah. Lovely, thank you. I really like, what did you call it? Body is a temple, and it's a record keeper, and like the fact that we're always looking and wondering what's in our divine blueprint, and it's all held within.
Yes.
You're walking around with it.
You are walking around with it. Absolutely. Can we say ultimately your DNA, it's like an interface between programming and software into your hardware, and it holds the instructions of what to turn on and off and how to express it and to what degree. And so your experiences will then teach you, show you, help you interface with, so that it may then influence what is going to be expressed or not expressed within your multidimensional DNA. And so it must be held in the body. It must be. Yes, your higher self holds the whole of it, even that which is beyond the physical. But there must be an interface through the body. Otherwise, you could not express it here in the physical reality. It is allowing more and more of your DNA to come online.
The so-called junk DNA.
The so-called junk DNA. What we call your multidimensional DNA.
Yeah.
And so when you have more and more activations of that DNA, more and more of you comes online.
Yeah.
And that's when you go more and more into your mastery of yourselves in the physical realm. You become more and more you, the higher you in the physical, by turning on more and more of your DNA.
And that takes us straight back to what we're talking about, having those little wins and climbing towards.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just like I can almost see the DNA, like the way that helix spirals and the lights coming on, like do like you would in a sci-fi movie. As it comes on up and round. Yeah, lovely.
Yes. So if you can understand, here you are, you've got your higher self holding all that you are. And then the higher self stays within the non-physical, is part of the divine. And then there is a part of that light from the higher self that lowers into, as in slows the vibration
down,
that is your soul, and to then interface with the physical. So your higher self remains whole, untouched, unharmed. Your soul, however, may still carry the wounds of trauma, of past lives, future lives, or within it. It needs to be affected and so that it can interface in the physical. The higher self needs to stay in the non-physical so you can remain and hold the remembrance of who you are, untouched and unharmed.
Yeah.
Then what happens is, through lifetime after lifetime, you get to experience all that you are, and you get to turn on the programs, turn on the DNA, in other words, of all that you are. So you become more and more actualized in the physical. You become more and more of your higher self in the physical. What do you think the masters have done?
Mm-hmm.
When they are ascended masters, they have become as avatars of their higher selves in the physical realm, and there is no more evolution for them to do within the physical. And so then do not need to return within the physical, as their higher selves and the human selves become one.
Yeah.
And then their evolution continues in non-physical realms, because you're continually evolving until you return into oneness with your Father, Mother, God.
Beautiful. And for my final question, which is exactly how many I had here, so you've been snooping on my notes, haven't you?
You want to term it that way?
Yes. The final question is, you always refer to me and to others when we're talking about dear one or dear ones.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say, I feel that's because when you're talking with us, even though my human physical Kerry is sitting here,
yes,
I feel that when you say dear one, it's because you're talking to the totality of who I
yes.
am, the multi-dimensional being that I am.
Yes. It is why when it is written, it is capital O.
Yeah.
Not small you, big you, greater you.
Yeah.
Dear ones.
So just it kind of was an extension of that you are here to serve us.
Yes.
And when we surrender, we're surrendering partly to you as well, because we're all connected in one. Well, that's not probably the right way to put it, but
no, we would put it in this way. You are surrendering to your light, your higher selves, to the divine that is Father, Mother, God.
Yeah.
That is you. For your higher selves is the light of Father, Mother, God.
God, yeah.
Just as your soul is to your higher self is to Father, Mother, God. It is a portion of the light. Now, to say that you surrender to us means you give your power away, or would in some senses be. And we do not want your power.
No.
We do not wish you to surrender to us. We would not ask anyone to do this. And we want to be very clear. Notice Vicky's voice is going. If anyone was to ask for you to surrender to them,
yeah,
and not to the broader light, that is a giving of your power. We would not even tell you to do this. And if anyone was to ask, then that is an indicator to you that they are not of the divine. For we would not ask you to do this. We would never ask you to surrender to us. We would never ask you to give your power away to us. And we do not even ask you to only heed our words. We offer them as guidance, and you may take them as you so wish. For you have your free will choices to choose, to reflect, to feel what is true for you. We do not ever say, take our words as your gospel and accept them as your own. You may indeed accept them as your own if you have gone through a process of, oh, wow, that feels good. That is pleasing to my body. I feel the whole of me tingle, or I feel the whole of me in agreement, in resonance with this truth. Then you, through that process, may adopt it as your own truth. That is not giving your power away. But when you are doing it without reflection, without contemplation, without an agreement on a soul level, then you have just subjugated yourself to another. Even if we are of the divine and we have not asked you to do this and you do this, it is still a process of giving your power away. And we do not wish this to you. So we would say is surrender to your light. In other words, surrender to your higher selves and surrender to the divine that is Father, Mother, God. The divine is all that is. We are part of all that is, and we can understand the semantics that can be played into that. What we want to be clear is that you are not surrendering to us specifically. You are surrendering to the greater one of all that is.
Yeah, that's a lovely message, but it's kind of not what I was, it came out wrong. What I was trying to say was that when you do use that term, dear ones, for me, it's like it's like a reminder that I'm more than my physical being. I'm more than my human life.
Yes, you are.
So, and it's like when you use that term, dear ones, it's like you're seeing my multi-dimensional being, and I've got to remember for myself that I am that multi-dimensional being.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Thank you.
We are pleased with that clarity. Okay, what we will say is that we'll give you a final piece just here, and then we will pull back our energy and allow your next guests to come through. What we wish to say to all who are listening in this eternal moment of now, much is unfolding upon your planet. Much is unfolding for you, each of you individually. All who are drawn to these messages are going through a process, a healing and spiritual journey. And for some, it is easier than others, for some harder than others. Every person has their own curriculum, if you so will, in that expression. If you can understand that so much more is going on, not just beneath the surface, above the surface, between you all, among you all. Know that each shift in consciousness brings you closer to the consciousness of love, brings you closer to that golden age, brings you closer to that new earth. The new earth energies are here. You have the opening into the new earth. In other words, the new earth anchored into the consciousness of love. This has been a long time coming, for the seeds were planted of this 2,000 years ago. Now, it is a long arc towards where you are heading, and it may seem too long. But if you can understand the evolution and the arc of this evolution, in moving forward into the consciousness of love, you may understand that even though there are many pockets where the dark has surfaced to the light, that there is we will not say a purpose in that, but it is a reflection. See it more as a reflection of all that is coming up to be cleared. So just as you may see that in the external world, you may see that within yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you may feel like you're going through challenges, difficulties. You may be concerned about your vibration dipping, or you may be concerned about not feeling good. The spiritual journey is not about feeling good. Ultimately, yes.
Mm.
But if you were to only chase what felt good, you would be stuck where you were 2,000 years ago, for that is where the Romans were. They were all about the pleasure and the hedonism. Yet pleasure and hedonism for who? Only those who were entitled to it, and caused much suffering for others. So instead, it is instead of the small pleasures, you move into the greater joy. Now, yes, the spiritual journey is about joy. And there may be, of course, the dips into the darkness, so you may return to the light. But there is the joy that is in all of that. And so find the joy even in the darkness. For you will need to curate the joy when you are in the darkness, whether you are watching your favorite comedy, thinking of your most funny moments, joys past, whatever that you need to do to curate your joy, do it, dear ones, so that you can remember the light in the darkness. And then when you truly do come out of that greater darkness into the light, then you will be joy-filled. And that is the good news.
Yeah.
The good news that you are returning to love, dear ones. And you are doing this as a planet, as a collective, as individuals. So when we say celebrate your successes, celebrate every single one.
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear ones. Withdraw our energy.
What a wonderful conversation.
Wow, I'm going to have to listen back.
Yeah.
There was a lot in that one. Wet places I did not expect, that's for sure.
And each one was a question I had prepared, and the questions were written a little bit different, but it's amazing how I prepare and they just work through my list.
And I have not seen your questions.
No, we need to do a little video on that, on how we prepare, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so are we ready for next part?
Our next guest, Aria.
All right.
So they are your divine collective.
Yes. So let me just explain that. Because often people will talk about their spirit teams, and when I was first started working and doing healing work, I had I've had Archangel Michael, Mother Mary, and Archangel Raphael, like going back 18 years, that I felt around me. But when I was going, deeper into my awakening, there's been a constant evolution of guides who have been connecting back in with me. So a number of years ago, say around, could be 2016, could be 2017, my Akamentia, my Pleiadian guides connected in with me. And they were the ones that told me to start doing crystal meditations and helped me in the healing work that I do. And then I started, it felt like I was gathering, but it was more like I was aligning with more and more galactic guides, Syrian ones. And, I've got a Turian and one Lyran, and but that, they were just, I don't know, they just had this collective energy. I didn't feel them individually in energy sessions. And at that time, I was also connected to Kuan Yin. And what's interesting is that things just continue to evolve. So Aria came through probably around 2019. And then I'm trying to remember exactly.
And Aria is
my Andromedan guides.
Yeah, Andromedan guides, because we met them last time.
Yes, we did. And it felt like it was like a reverse engineering of my soul's journey. So I was most recently in the Pleiades. So the Pleiadian guides came through first, whereas I was, Andromeda, like much further back in terms of time. And then there was a point, and I think it may have been last year or just the year before, actually 2020, when Kuan Yin departed in terms of being part of Aria, and Mary Magdalene came through. And so depending on the purpose of where I was on my journey and the healing work I was doing in terms of who was connecting in with me. So I have, some archangels, I have certainly my personal angels, I have some galactic guides, and certainly have some ascended masters, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Sananda being the cosmic Christ. And so if people are not familiar with Sananda, he is if you want to think of it as the non-physical aspect of Yeshua. So Yeshua is being, personality, not just a personality, but the master who was here in the physical. But he's asked me not to call him Yeshua anymore, because he used to call upon him as Yeshua, and he said, no, I'm Sananda. So there's a whole body, and I've got my spirit animals, I've got elemental beings, there's a whole team. But then it was them who said to me, no, don't call us a spirit team, call us a divine collective. So since that time, I've been calling them what's my divine collective. And then it was probably around 2020 also, and I asked, well, do you have a name as a divine collective, or just call you divine collective? And that's when they came through with the name Aria. And I thought that was interesting, because I kept getting the analogies of what was coming through was a symphony of light. And, and I used to always say, like, even with the large crystal grids, that I wasn't the conductor of the energy. I was like the baton in the conductor's hand, and I was being conducted. So they are the symphony of light in terms of what's coming through. Yeah. So I'd be curious to see what
I have
to
plenty
say.
of questions to ask them now. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. So yes, this is the first time. In terms of our Soul Sisters channeling, we haven't done this before, so interested to hear them. So they speak as one when channeling Aria. Yeah, and to this day still come through in meditations and healing energies. Okay.
Welcome.
We are pleased to be with you, dear ones.
Well, thank you for answering the invitation and coming today. So Vicky just told us a little bit about you,
Yes.
and that you are her divine collective. So could you
Yes.
tell us a bit more about who you are as a collective?
Who we are. We are a collective of energy. It is not who we are, but a description of what we are.
What? Mm-hmm.
So a collection of energy streaming as one consciousness, yet we like the symphony analogy. For if you understand that a symphony will have many individual parts to the symphony, you have the violin and the cello, you have the drums and the cymbals, you have the triangle, you have the conductor, you have all the wind instruments, all the instruments, they are all together operating as a harmony. When they operate together with balance, with flow, there's a harmony and a resonance that flows through. And so we come together with a common purpose to flow through as an energy. So when the keepers refer to us and gather us as a symphony of light, Aria is a singular name. It is easier to call us in with a singular name than to call us individually. And so we gave this name to Vicky for the ease of reference, for there was much gathering of energy when she was beginning her sessions because of our different disparate energies in bringing us all together. But as Aria, we come through together, and you may hear notes of us, just like you may hear the tuba more than you may hear the flute. Yeah. But at different times, one may be parts of the symphony may be quiet, while one has a solo, or one comes through more in greater concentrations or in greater degrees and intensities. And so in that way, maybe a really good description or analogy for you as to how we operate.
So I'm sort of getting a picture like it's not a collective that's created, well, you maybe started from the point of when Vicky's soul chose to come to have this lifetime.
Yes.
That it's quite, the collective is a fluid entity that,
yes,
that moves with wherever Vicky's
yes,
going on her journey.
Yes. It is in that sense very fluid, and there is an evolution in that. Just like members of a symphony may come and go, and each individual, that each person that plays a violin, for example, may be replaced by another who plays a violin. Now, it is not to say that there is a replacement, in other words, that one is not important to the other. Vicky knows that, for example, her Pleiadian guides do not play a big role anymore the way they used to. They were a very large part at the beginning. And what she was originally channeling was them, or largely them.
Yeah.
And they played a big role in getting her started in her healing work. And so she will always be grateful to them, and they are grateful to her for allowing that expression. So what we will say, yes, there is a soul agreement, just as you have soul agreements with people in the physical. There are soul agreements within the non-physical of who you may connect with according to your needs and according to your consciousness. For your consciousness must be a match and a resonance of what is coming through. Now, it is not to say that we hold back our connection, but your consciousness dictates how you may connect with us.
Yeah.
So there may be potentials for greater connection and continual evolution, and that is true. And even now, there is an energetic upgrade that Vicky is experiencing to be able to connect even into her council of light. Now, that is perhaps for later to discuss, but in terms of us as Aria, we are both personal guides for her, as well as a shared purpose in bringing healing to the world. Now, some of us are not exclusive to Vicky. Some of us are.
Yes.
And so there is that commingling of energy. It is not to say that Vicky is more special than any other person. It is just a resonance of energy and a shared purpose that brings us to her. Just like anyone else may have your personal guides, and there'll be a shared resonance with your purpose at any given time. Now, what we will say about purpose is because often people think soul purpose must be only that which is a grand mission upon the earth. Let us say that for most people, your soul purpose is here to learn, to remember, to evolve. And what things do you have coming up for this learning, this remembering, and this evolution? To remember that you are love, to remember that you are light, to remember that you are worthy. Now, these are common, shared, collective missions, if you will. There will be individual ways that's expressed through your curriculum, if you will. And when it comes to a higher soul mission or soul purpose, let us not disappoint you. Of course, you may have one or even more than one, but it is a process of evolving through the personal ones that you have to be able to express the other.
To the others, yep.
First, you must be it before you can do it.
So, got a truck out the front now. Hopefully you can't hear that. So,
no.
I'm seeing that every single one of us that incarnate on planet Earth will have our own divine collective.
Yes.
So some of those we'll call members or energies within that symphony of our divine collective will also be shared with others. Like I definitely know that Vicky and I have some shared guides that are both in that. So that's been really refreshing to hear all how that works, because we hear so many. We've got personal guides, we've got guides that come and go, divine collective, the councils of light, and it gets a bit hard to understand. But I think that the fact that the divine collective is just a really nice way to say you've got an umbrella and there's all these beautiful energies there to support us. And we use that term because it is a collective of energy and we are of the divine. So spirit team, there is nothing wrong with the term. We just felt it was more an accurate description of what we are. And so you will have, as you said, your individual guides, and then guides or light beings who have a shared purpose coming through for you. And, you know, as Vicky has evolved, as she was moving through some of the more personal ones for her and released that, then moving into some moving out, some others coming more fully in. It's not that they weren't there before. So, for example, with Mary Magdalene, so that she was not there before, it is that Vicky hadn't fully stepped into her worthiness to be able to connect with her more fully. And that's like a vibrational thing.
Well, yes, it's vibration, but it is also, there's the lesson within it.
Yeah.
Now, let us go to the example of Kuan Yin, Mary Magdalene. For Vicky was feeling more Kuan Yin was with her. Now, and she was. And there's emotions in Vicky because she was with her through her dark night. And she was with her when she experienced a great deal of loss in her life. And it was necessary, for she's what you call the goddess of compassion. She holds that compassion energy. And Vicky was needing to learn compassion for herself. To understand compassion for herself, she was able to come into greater compassion for all people and all beings. Now, she even had a beautiful necklace, labradorite, with a carved black obsidian Kuan Yin. And that necklace held her energetically through deep, deep pain, particularly through her family court process, through her dark night. And then at one time, she was working in a crystal store, the Kuan Yin fell off. And the store owner was like, this needs to be buried. It has held all your grief. And Vicky did not want to bury it. She loved it too much. She placed it in her garden and marked the spot. And so it was under a jasmine tree. And she loved that jasmine tree. And she did leave there for months. And every now and again, she would check it was there. Now, as this is a year ago now, and just this week, it was the 19th, and it was the last day of them moving out of that house, the 19th of April. And she was looking for the Kuan Yin, and they dug up half the garden around the jasmine tree, but she was gone. And that was signifying that her chapter with Kuan Yin had ended. And while Vicky grieved the loss, she has moved more fully into a vibrational connection with Mary Magdalene. And there was that overlap for in 2019 was receiving many activations with Mary Magdalene and was coming into greater resonance with her energy, and she was beginning to come through more singularly in some of the crystal meditations. And so now she has seen it as the withdrawal of one energy and a coming forth of another.
And I didn't know anything about Kuan Yin when I was going through my awakening. Actually, it was away at a retreat, and it was where I first met Vicky, and we were roommates. And I didn't know who Kuan Yin was, and this, goddess of compassion. And I kept pulling her card every single day that we were away on that retreat. And I'm like, oh, again. And I see that was probably that energy that Kuan Yin had come along with Vicky to the retreat.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, and then shared that energy with me.
Yes.
In our re-meeting of each other.
Yes.
At that time. So so I understand now what the card was obviously coming out, because like Vicky had brought her along.
Yes.
So I was getting introduced.
She certainly did.
Yeah.
She certainly did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Vicky still can connect with her energy. It is not to say that she's gone, she cannot connect with her, but she is no longer part of Aria.
Well, today you answered you RSVP'd to our play date invitation, and we're wondering if there's a specific message or something you would like to open us to in coming here today.
Firstly, it is discussion of who you may connect with, and we speak to everyone, how you may connect with to the divine. We speak also in the understanding of who you are connecting with, if you're having energy sessions with Vicky or are connecting with one of her meditations, either here on YouTube or on Instagram or online through Zoom or in any way. So it is an introduction in that sense. But yes, we do have another purpose, another reason for wishing to come through. And that is because you are coming through a turbulent time upon your earth. And it is a time where people are feeling more and more lost. There is a great deal of confusion. And what we are wishing to do is to impress upon everyone who comes to these messages that you too have the ability and capacity to connect with your divine collective so that you may evolve and be guided by them also. And so let us say with that is that the greatest barrier is a lack of self-worth.
Yes.
As you said, it was vibration, and it is, because when you do not feel worthy, your vibration is slower. When you are filled with self-love and know yourselves to be worthy, then you know that you are worthy of your divine connection. And therefore, you do not need another to connect you to any aspect of the divine. You only need to connect within. And so it is a demonstration. We're wishing to demonstrate to you that each of you may connect more deeply with your divine collectives and know that you are indeed never, ever, ever alone.
So in saying that, I'm thinking about every morning I do an intention, or I basically welcome guides in and to the day, to welcome them to be in my life, to that I'm willing to accept guidance, that sort of thing. But every morning then I'll rattle through Archangel Michael and Aria and Ari and all the ones that I call in. So I could possibly, and for everyone else listening, they could possibly use the term I call in my divine collective.
Yes, you could.
I mean, you can add specifics, like if I'm writing, I'll call in writer guides and that sort of thing as well. Yes, we've got a little peekaboo happening there.
We do. We do.
So by calling the divine collective into each of our days, is that still a wonderful way to start your day?
We have someone at the door. We will pause you right there. Yes, so we are back. Yes. Now, what we would say is every day as you awaken and move into your day, or actually even before you move into your day, is a perfect time to invite your divine collective to move through your day. And that is a perfect opportunity to connect. And what we want to say is that your prayer should not just be a prayer for asking, beseeching, asking for things. It can be an attunement. And we would say that is a higher form of prayer, an attunement to your divine collective or to the divine. to your higher self. Include your higher self in that.
Yeah.
Now, your higher self is not part of your divine collective. It is the greater part of you. Divine collective is that which is in some ways external to you, but connected to you through your heart. So you're still connecting within, but is not you.
Yeah.
And so we will differentiate between your higher self and your divine collective. So calling your higher self, calling your divine collective. You may choose to also connect direct to source, to Father, Mother, God. Now, as you connect to your divine collective and to your higher self, or whoever you are connecting in with, ask to be attuned to our energy, or your divine collective's energy. And then align yourselves into the day. And then you may ask for guidance throughout the day, support throughout the day, and let us call it no, that's not the right word.
Intention.
Having a shared purpose throughout the day. So Vicky was going to say co-creation, and we say no, but yes. So what we want to differentiate here is that we are not creating in your day. But if you invite us, we may guide you along the way. And then you may have greater clarity about what is best for you, what are the best choices, what's in your best and highest good. And then you may still be a free will choice as to what you may choose for you.
Yeah, I use the words for myself. Show me what there is to see, hear what there is to hear, know what there is to know, feel what there is to feel.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And that's what we'll often say. Many people may say they are not intuitive, even when they are.
Yeah.
And partly that is maybe because they cannot see the signs. They cannot hear the words. When Yeshua said, those who have ears to hear, it was not talking about literal ears. It is being able to hear not just the words, but the energy behind the words, and to understand the meaning behind the surface of the words that what meant the ears to hear. And so to be able to do that is about connecting in to this whole multidimensional conversation that we are having with each and every one of you. And we say we, in this case, in the greater we of the divine. So all is communicating with you. And when you move through the day, moving through this nebulous energy that is creating your reality and having you interface with the divine main manifest, which is the universe, then you may receive the signs, the synchronicities, and you may be in the flow. When you are aligned with us, attuned with us, you may then be more present. And when you are more present, you are more in the flow, and then have more and more of those synchronicities.
Lovely.
And so then life works more easily for you.
And as we were saying with the keepers, more about getting back into more that heart vibration and out of that mental clutter. We'll call it.
Yes. When you connect through the heart, this is where you have the attunement into the energy of the divine. And so when you are connecting into that energy, it must be through the heart. And then that alignment occurs. It's the mind integrates into the heart, integrated into the body, and through the body into the soul.
And what you're saying about intuition too, like I know when I had my awakening, I was waiting for the next big big exciting thing to show up in my life, or me to all of a sudden know I've got this special skill or whatever. And over the years, I've realized it's so subtle.
Yes, it is.
Because it's a weaving, and it's like, and then you have these little ahas along the way.
Yes.
Like I just had my astrology charts read recently, and that Sophia was saying all these points about me and my birth chart. I'm like, oh, okay, yep, that was all written there. Like, I understand myself so much more after hearing that. And it actually was like sewing together that tapestry. Oh, I have been noticing that. And I'm more tuned in and intuitive than what I was giving myself
credit for. Yes. Yes, we would agree with you. Now, your astrology can be a way to read your divine blueprint, read the soul through the stars. Now, and that is what Sophia was doing for you. And when you can understand that, when you have a way of remaining connected in your physical bodies rather than feeling disconnected from all that is, you can then understand that this is an adventure. Your adventure is, you are the character in your play. You are the avatar in your computer game, and you are interfacing with that reality, knowing that you are not disconnected from all that is. And it can be subtle. Intuition normally is. For some, it can come with bells and whistles, but for the vast majority, we say it is in the subtle. And so for you to take notice of the subtle, you must then let go of the noise of the external world to be able to connect within and receive what is in the subtle and the nuance.
Okay, now what else did we have here? So Aria Raphael came in last session, and they are Vicky's Andromedan guides.
Yes.
So are they part of Vicky's Divine Collective? Because it's interesting that they're Aria Raphael and you guys, and your collective is Aria. So the name kind of gives it away, but how does that interplay work?
Well, yes, they are a part of Aria, and they are here even as we speak. As separate for them, they are part of this energy. And they spoke previously of being connected to the order of Melchizedek. And that is because Vicky is aligned with that order, and part of what she brings through is part of the teachings that originate from that order. Now, some of us are connected with that order and not just Aria Raphael. So how they fit in is just a perfect accompaniment to this energy that is Aria, for they just have the specific energy, the specificities of the Andromedan energy within the greater collective of Aria, but it is a complement to all that we hold together as a collective.
Yeah, I like that word, complement. Yeah. Okay, so I think you've answered all the questions that I had. I'm just wondering if any particular energy of the collective has anything else that they would like to bring forth, whether as an individual or as part of the collective.
Not singularly, for you will hear from Archangel Raphael, who is part of Aria as a singular energy. So we will speak first as a collective energy and then withdraw our energy so that Archangel Raphael can come through as the singular energy. We are pleased to introduce ourselves in this more intimate manner to all who come to these messages and to Vicky's work. And we also are pleased to, let us say, connect with your divine collectives when you may have energy sessions, when you may participate in a healing meditation. For there, as you said, may often be an overlap. And we say often because our souls, you're drawn to each other where there is resonances in your energy. And so you're drawn to particular healers and teachers according to the resonances within your soul. And so for many of you, we are not strangers.
Yeah.
And so while we say we appreciate this introduction from individually as singular energies, you will find that we know you intimately and you know us intimately also, and have journeyed throughout the ages together. And so as Aria, we would like to say, this is more for Vicky, but you may benefit also in the hearing of it. We are pleased to be connected through her, with her, to you, with you, through you, if that is the case. And in honoring her body, just as you spoke previously of honoring the body, if she did not open her body to us, we could not communicate with you now.
Yeah.
And so her process of evolution through what we are as Aria, as the collective Aria, is just the degree of opening her body more and more to the light. And that has been a deep releasing of trauma and wounding from the past so that she may do this. So we honor her healing journey, for it has not been an easy one. But it has been a profound one that has rewarded her with many gifts. And so we are pleased to be able to share them with the world so that our energy and more can be shared also.
Lovely, thank you.
From our heart to yours, we send you much love.
We receive and send it back. Thank you.
Wow.
Mm.
Made me a bit teary.
Yeah, that was different to what I expected. Yeah.
How did you experience them?
Oh, I still feel them.
Yes.
I can actually feel it right through my whole torso, that nice, beautiful, loving feeling.
Good.
Even when they first came through, it was like a rush.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they were coming, they were gathering. There was like coming from all directions, and then they were like, forming as a singular, and then anchored into my heart, and they were there.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were going to go.
Yeah,
like,
I was wondering how I was going to go. Yeah, it's like they're all there, but it's like what we said with Mother Mary and Archangel Michael. It's like dipping a toe into the ocean of their energy, because I can't, obviously, even one of them I can't contain all their energy, let alone all of them. But, you know, it's just they're transmitting their collective energy. And I'm dipping into that.
Okay. So let us move into Archangel Raphael. Welcome.
He's struggling to get her words out. What she would like to say is that my energy is all heart.
Oh.
And this is where the emotion comes up for her. All heart. And she would say that I am pure heart energy. That is how she's feeling and experiencing me. And so her heart is fully open to receive me. And what she would say is that she feels her heart to have no boundaries. And that is truly what my energy is all about. I would like to say thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you for answering the call. I don't think there's that we really need to introduce who you are, Archangel Raphael, but we do tend to connect you mainly with healing.
Yes.
Especially us that are healers. I always call in your energy to assist or guide.
Yes.
I hope you like my green. It was the closest I could find to the beautiful emerald energy.
Yes.
Rays that you work with. And I think because you are so well known as the healer, I'd love for you to talk to how you feel you actually are and what you feel your purpose is.
Well, I'm happy to be considered the healing angel, for truly that is my purpose. My name is He Who Heals. Now, if you can understand this and understand that not just a healer can call upon me for healing, then you know that you may work through your own healing even without a healer. For each of you have this access to the divine and access to me if you call upon me. The difference between a healer and someone who is not a healer can feel the healing that I am doing. And there is this two-way connection and communion with us, with each other, so that there is that two-way feedback even as the healing occurs. So there's an understanding of what is needing, what is required, what is to be done next. But anyone, even who cannot feel my energy, can still call upon me and ask for healing. And certainly many of you have, particularly when it has come to your loved ones who have been unwell. So I wish to communicate that to you, is that any of you may call upon me. And indeed, that is the process. If you can understand that ultimately the healer is the greatest communicator with the divine. And it is that process of communion with the divine and the divine energy in moving that through that is able to heal the person that is before them, whether in person or on the other side of the world. And it is about moving that energy. And so it is a communion with the energy of all that is. And so that is what I do. It is just connecting with the energy to adjust it and adjust the particles and adjust the cells. But when you understand me as heart energy, it is returning all to love. And when you understand this, you may understand this on a deeper level. You have dis-ease in your bodies because you have moved away from love. You have dis-ease in your bodies when you have had experiences that were not loving. So when there was the discussion earlier in the piece with the keepers in saying that the body records and holds the memories of everything, of course, memories of love, but also memories not of love, then it wires the body and changes the cellular energy, the chemistry, all that is within the body. And so some of it is of love and some of it is not of love. And so when you are healing the body, you're moving the body deeper into love. You're releasing all that is not of love and adjusting the cells to move back into love. Where there is love, there is health, there is well-being. So the aging process you may see as the accumulation of all the energy that is not of love and how it wears the body down.
And I'm also getting healing. Another word we could superimpose in there is wholeness.
It is one and the same.
It
is one and the same.
Mm.
So it is a return to wholeness. Absolutely. Yeah. It is a return to love. And so it is releasing all that is not love within your body and returning it all that is. That is what I do.
Beautiful. So you work with the green ray or the emerald ray, probably more correct is the emerald ray.
Yes.
How does all that work? Like, obviously you would work with the whole spectrum, but predominantly you would work in the emerald ray.
Yes.
And we're starting to understand more and more about light. But if you could add some more information to that for us.
Yes. The light as one, as a whole, is the diamond light, the white light. You may call it white, but of course it is diamond. If you see this as white, or you can see it as clear, it is all one. Now, within that spectrum, of course, you have the rainbow, just as you have it behind you. Now, the whole rainbow, each ray has particular frequencies and particular properties. And it is in the emerald ray that you find the heart. In the heart, you find the healing. And so we've already spoken about the heart energy being connected to the healing energy. And so therefore, they are one and the same. So when you have someone, the light being such as Thoth, who wrote the emerald tablets, that was his work with me in connecting to the emerald ray. And so, yes, there are light codes within the emerald ray. And so you bring through basically what is the energy of the heart to return to the heart of the divine. And so that is truly a process. It is all simple, even though the process may be challenging to move through. For you to unravel all that is not of love can feel like an unraveling of self. If you've needed to form a personality that is in response to an unloving environment, that can be a difficult process indeed. But I am purely all that I am, connected to the heart of the divine, and I hold those frequencies. That is my purpose, and that is what I do. And I would wish for more people to understand this, so that while they may call upon me as the healing and an angel, you may understand me more by understanding me as the angel connected to the heart, and being my purpose to hold, carry, and bring through the frequencies of this heart.
So that kind of explains a bit more about, we tend to think of healing as physical healing needed.
Yes.
And the more and more work we do on ourselves, then we realize that if you go out step further and further away from that, it's energetically, it's thoughts and everything that create that end result in the body. So with healing, it's a matter of, like I said, with the word wholeness. So if people could start maybe thinking about, how do I get back to wholeness, to that love,
yes,
rather than how do I fix my sore toe? Like, how can we get that sort of message expanded out into the universe, other than people awakening and doing their own inner work?
You can understand, and certainly there are some modalities that have mapped this out, where the sore toe means a particular issue. And so when any good healer, true healer, will connect the sore toe to the underlying cause of the sore toe.
Yeah.
And so there would be it could be a lesson, it could be a pattern, it could be an incident, an event that caused the sore toe. Now, it is not, for example, only that you stubbed your toe, as the example. It could be, why did you stub the toe? Were you ungrounded? Were you imbalanced? Were you not in the present moment? Were you in a rush? What was going on for you? So there can be many things that you can unpack in that element. And when you go into deeper ailments, such as the big three, the cancers, the heart attacks or the heart problems, and the stroke or circulatory issues, you can understand all those have underlying concerns, causes, issues as well. And so when you start to map these out, you can understand what are the underlying events that cause these ailments, so that when you are healing any of those issues, you're not just healing the physical, you're right, you're healing the underlying pattern. And that is what takes the longest. For what we will say is that it can take up to 10 years to manifest in the physical that a pattern that has been ongoing, that originated years earlier. So when people expect healing and want immediate improvement in the physical, it does not always occur. You don't always know to what degree you are being healed. Often it will unfold even years to come.
Yeah.
So you can understand that there is an unraveling of the patterns around this. And the greatest breakthroughs in the physical is when you move to the greatest breakthroughs in these patterns.
And so therefore, as an extension of that, for some of us, if we're asking for healing for a specific thing, it may not happen because we need to move through and understand that patterns for ourselves. So
it may not happen for a number of reasons. Partly, yes, because you have not yet moved through those patterns sufficiently to understand and to release the underlying cause. There may also be written within your divine blueprint within your soul for you to move through a cancer, to move through a particular ailment, to move through a particular tragedy for the benefits of the soul. So do not see it only as a testament of where you do not have love in your life. This is not an exercise for blaming yourself at all. You may take some free will choices to change what is the underlying cause, but let me say that those underlying causes or patterns are the very purpose of why you had cancer, for example, as part of your soul experience, part of your soul agenda for you to move through. Now, that may be where you did not have love in your life. How do you then move to love back to yourself? It could be many multitudes of reasons. You cannot see from this perspective all that is held within the soul in terms of the soul's purpose. There may be other reasons, and we know that there has been the discussions of the karmic balances. And so if you have been the caretaker of another in one lifetime, there may be a return to karmic balance by being the one that's requiring caring of. There can be an understanding where you do not wish to ask for help in a lifetime, and then you are needing to face an experience where you must ask for help, or you do not have the physical capacity to care for yourself. And so there can be many, many different reasons for why you would move through an illness experience. Yet there will come a time upon your planet where you will move more and more into greater health, wellness, and well-being rather than illness and disease.
Wonderful. So what was your main... Okay, so what is the reason for coming to talk to us today? What would you like to share?
I particularly wanted people to understand that they may have access to my energy. Anyone may have access to my energy. It is not that I only belong to Vicky or only to healers or to anybody. I'm here for all, and all may call upon me. I also wanted to communicate the importance of the heart energy and what physical healing requires. Now, what I also want to do is also speak to my role within the healing work that Vicky does. For I am there through every session. Vicky's feeling the energy of that now. There's a reason why I have been connected with her for a long time. And let me say, not just connected with her for a long time, but that she's had the awareness of me for a long time. It has taken many years of preparation to get her to this point. And so what I would say to anyone is, do not despair if you feel that you are not where anybody else is, and just be where you are and begin where you are and celebrate the fact that you are beginning. For it, not only it may have, in many cases, it has taken years, not just years, lifetimes for you to get to this point. So celebrate all that you have journeyed through. And so let me say in relation to that, all are welcome. You do not have to earn your worthiness or your right to connect to me or to any aspect of the divine. it is, as has already been stated, a matter of resonance, of frequency, of knowing, not just knowing, embodying your deservingness. It is not that you need to earn your deservingness, it's that you need to know it to be able to claim it.
Mm.
So for those of you who do not feel that you deserve a connection, cannot connect. And it's not because we deem you not deserving, it is that you have deemed you not deserving.
Mm. And in saying that, what is the best way for us to connect with you?
Intention. My name.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
So even someone, if they were in a situation and they could just call out, I need healing.
Yes.
Would be enough, because it's an intention to connect with healing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you may call my name. You may ask me to do specific things, or you may just leave it open. And I would recommend that, because when you are open in your requests, then I may bring through even more than what you can think of to ask for.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely been have been asking for some guidance for diet and wellness for my body. So
yes,
I'm at that stage now where I've got to get moving again physically,
yes,
start lightening my body with light foods. And
yes,
yeah, so I'll keep it a bit more open and to guide me to the right things to put in my body.
Let me say that sometimes you can know too much and then can be too specific. And the specificity can be good at times to focus on a particular area. And certainly Vicky is good at that. But when you also allow it to be open-ended, this and whatever else needs to come through, whatever else is in my best and highest good or in the other person's best and highest good, you cover both bases. Not just both, all bases.
All bases.
Yes.
And I like that opening up more.
Yes.
Or more open-ended requests.
Yes. Yes.
Or attunements.
Yes. More achievements. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I really like that.
Yes.
Okay, well, I haven't got any more questions that I can think of in this moment. Was just overwhelmed actually that you're here, and the same thing happened with Archangel Michael when his energy came through, and we're just so blessed to have all of you working with us in this 3D energy that we're in, and we're so thankful for your guidance, your love.
Let me say that Michael cleared the path for me to come through in opening Vicky further so that I can also connect.
Yes, I picked that up. Because I just know when Michael came through, it was like Vicky was talking in slow motion.
Yes.
Taking on that energy, and you seem to still, she had that moment of calibrating to your energy.
Yes.
But it was a smoother process. I feel for her.
Yes. And so let me say that this is an introduction to me. I will come forth in subsequent conversations, just as Michael will. And all who come through, each person as they introduce themselves, each energy will be first an introduction, a calibration, and then you'll be able to move into more and into more.
I look forward to those interactions, and
so do we all.
Yeah. I can hear drums beating and celebration.
Yes.
Yeah.
From my heart to yours. We are
from ours to yours.
Love. Wow. Still here, energy is still quite strong, and I've always said that it's not as forceful as Michael's, but forceful is not the right word, maybe as I don't know.
Michael's more of that protective nature.
Yeah, fiery, and Archangel Raphael's is more subtle, but channeling him, it's not subtle.
No.
It's so open. It's beautiful. Yeah. Wow, what a blessing.
For sure. Okay, so did the keepers want to come back in?
Yes. Yeah. How did you find that conversation, dear ones?
I enjoyed it, and I knew it would be an introduction.
Yes.
That's why I didn't get too many questions channeled through.
Exactly.
But it was just really nice. It's like that first physical meeting where you find out a little bit about each other. And
yes, you're not going to go too deep on that first meeting. Yes.
It's like we're all old friends now, so we can get into the deep stuff.
Yes. Yes, that is true. That is true.
So it was another huge day, huge learnings, huge openings, and I'm sure I'm going to be playing this one back as I do. This one will be
others.
played back, and every time we're going to get something different from it.
Yes you are. Well, we are pleased with the conversations that have unfolded, and how you will find that not just our questions, our responses segue into yours, but they also segue into all the subsequent conversations. And you see a theme that moves across the whole of the conversation. So we are pleased to anchor back in to cap off this conversation, and it has been a wonderful movement forward in your soul sisters channeling and in your divine conversations that you are having. We look forward to what is coming next.
And so do I. And I didn't get a chance to mention before, but it was amazing. I went back and looked. I'd been away and I didn't have service where I was. And I looked at the weekly channeling that you did, the weekly guidance you do through with Vicky and the Blue Volcano. And I read it, and it just makes me laugh. It's like everything there is exactly where I am, and I was in my mind, and I need to get out of my mind and back in my heart. And I was saying to Vicky earlier, it's almost like you write these personally for me. So thank you. And it's just so beautiful to have that guidance, and then you can go, oh, okay, I'm not going crazy. This is what the energy is that's around at the moment, and I'm tuning into the energy more than I ever realized. So
yes,
it's all linked, and I just thank you so much for these communications and for us all working together. I feel so blessed.
Thank you for connecting with them, and we are pleased when you are assisted in any way, when you find resonance in any way, when it connects you to your own truth in any way and reminds you of who you really are. So from our heart to yours, we send you much love.
It received in much gratitude and expanded back to you. Thank you so much.